Boys, good to see all four of you now. Just talk us through the sequence of events, what happened on the day. How did you find out Stephen had gone?
We were all in different places at the time. I was in Chicago, about to run the Chicago Marathon. When I found out, I got a call. As soon as possible, I called Andrew Cowles, Stephen's husband, to find out was it true, basically, to clarify it, because I didn't want to go and call anyone else. You know, sometimes you get crazy calls, you never know. And to be honest, I didn't want to believe it, so I needed some sort of clarity with the whole thing. So I found out then it was true. I then called the lads. I got hold of Shane first. I spoke to Shano, who was in Dublin. And Shano's, I was in a panic. I was in an awful state. But Shano, of all of us, would be the one that, would be, be able to not take it in a stride, but be calm and deal with it best. So he almost talked me down. He helped me out. So I spoke to Shano first. And then I got hold of Keith. And Keith was in town, in Dublin also. And he was in a taxi at the time, or in a car. And I said, Duster, pull over. And he pulled over, and I explained to him. And he obviously didn't believe it either. So he got hold of Shane, and they got together, and he also got hold of Mikey. Then we got hold of Mick on the phone. I called Mick, and I mean it's all a bit of a blur how the actual phone calls happened, but it all happened so quickly, and the lads all got together in Dublin, and they all went to Keith's house, and everyone just kind of spent time together. I was just trying to get a flight back from Chicago. I didn't get to run the marathon. Obviously, I just got on the next available flight back, and the lads flew to London, to Shane's house, and I just spent the night obviously on the flight, got back into Heathrow, drove around to Shano's house, and that's when the four of us were together for the first time, which was about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, then the following morning. And we just spent a few hours together talking and trying to come to terms with what happened and what was going on. And as soon as we could, we got on a flight from Biggin Hill then down to Mallorca, and from there then we went to Stephen and Andrew's apartment and spent time with Andrew, speaking to Andrew, because we didn't really know exactly what had gone on, what was happening, anything. We were just dealing with our loss and the grief, but we had no information. So we spent time with Andrew, and just trying to console him and speak to him, and from there then we went back to our hotel and spent time together and just kind of took it all in ourselves. And then, obviously then the chain of events after that were very much public. People knew that we were up and down, travelling up and down to Mallorca, trying to deal with bringing Stephen home to Dublin and dealing with the details here in Dublin with the family and with the funeral home and the funeral itself on the Saturday. So that's kind of how it all happened. That's kind of skipping across it. There was obviously lots of detail and lots of going on here and there, but that's how it happened from the Saturday all the way through until the following Saturday.
Keith, I'll just come to you now, if that's all right. Just talk me through the impact of that phone call when you get Ronan saying Stephen's dead.
I was out myself, as it was a Saturday night, and I'd just been to a function, and I was in a kind of a people carrier with my wife and a couple of friends, and I'd had a few drinks, like I said, and we were in party mood, and we were on our way to a nightclub. And Ronan, I'd missed a couple of calls off Ro, and it wouldn't be like Ro to panic. I'd have a missed call, and he'd wait for me to get back to me. He wouldn't ring me twice. He'd know I'd be up to something or whatever. So it was strange to see that he'd call me back again, especially at that hour of the night. And I kind of thought, well, I better ring him back. So I rang him back, and obviously disbelief was the first thing, and I just remember shouting at him. I don't know what I was shouting. I just remember shouting something.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Yeah. What are you saying? And then obviously the people that were in the car with me knew there was something not right, and that nobody suspected obviously that it was Theo. And at that stage, then I kind of shock, I suppose, kicked in, and Stephen, out of the five of us, we've all got very, we're all very individual, and Stephen would be the one that we kind of look after and protect. He liked us to do that, He was very tactile with us, and we'd always make sure that we'd look after him and give him a hug. So, not that it would be any more or less devastating for anybody, for to get this news about any of the rest of us, but Theo was the one that we kind of take care of. I just wanted to hook up with the lads. we had some strength when we were together. When we were alone, it was much more difficult to deal with. But we all found that when we were together, we had a bit of strength. So I got Shane as soon as I could, and then Michael came over to my house then, and we were just trying to get Ro home as quick as possible. I mean, obviously we had each other, but he was on his own on a flight, and it was. I can only imagine how difficult it must have been to be on your own for that amount of time, you know. So once the four of us got together, I suppose there was a bit of strength between us, but that's when we kind of start trying to understand what the hell was going on.
Mikey, if I come to you next, how much strength did you draw as a unit going to Mallorca and doing something so proactive for the Gately family?
Well, I think after the initial shock on the Saturday evening stroke Sunday morning when we first heard the devastation on Lewis, it occupied us for the whole week, being so busy doing all the funeral arrangements and details, and we left, after we initially went out to Mallorca, we left our manager, Mark Plunkett, there to take care of things on that end while we came back to Dublin. So while we were together for the week and being so busy, it kind of almost kept our mind off, or at least occupied, you know, that we could get through the week and together, you know. Because it was so surreal and still is, when we're together, we kind of feel like Stephen is still with us. He's just about to walk in the room.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he was the last one to arrive when we were doing any kind of gathering, you know, and he'd, you know, come in, tiptoe through the room in his usual way with his usual manner about him. And through all of that week, that's how we felt he was just going to come into the room. I think the part that after we had done all that and the organisation, and even when we brought Stephen back with us, I think it was Ronan or Keith maybe on the plane commented that there was, for those 2.5 hours, the journey back, there was something about the five of us being together on that plane. It didn't seem so bad for that journey because we were together,
yeah.
and there was a safety. I can't explain it eloquently enough, but there was a psychological safety for us when we came back together. It didn't feel so bad, but until we landed, and when we landed and we looked out the window of the plane, you know, the plane came off away to a private area away from the main buildings, and there waiting for us were the police and our security personnel and management and Jennings Funeral Home, the undertakers and so on. And when we came off the plane, we decided that we